You've heard of the anti-Semitic verses, anti-Jewish verses that are scattered throughout the New Testament. Well, tonight's topic is going to be once again reflecting back on what happened in Pittsburgh. So can the anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish verses actually turn into anti-Semitism? So y'all sit tight. We'll be right back. Welcome to Tanakh Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with another episode of TNT, the Twisted New Testament, with Rabbi Stuart Federow from Houston, Texas. Welcome back, Cotter. It is good to see you, sir.
TV show, too. I like that. Welcome back, Cotter. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to the little place that you laughed about.
You remember a lot more than I do. All I remember is a few of the characters, and I remember when I was about 10 years old, I got a Welcome Back Cotter board game from my aunt in Oklahoma. Never will forget that. That's funny. Oh, man. Wow. So, Rabbi, it's good to see you this week.
And good to see you, too, always.
Yes, indeed. And so tonight's topic's always one we don't like covering in light of what happened in Pittsburgh. But I think, as you very well clarified, it's something we need to do. So that's where we're going to kind of go. I'll open the phone lines up in a little while. I'm not going to open them up just yet, just so we can kind of get into this topic and see where it's going. So,
all right. There's a lot we have to cover before we even look at the first verse from the New Testament.
Okay.
The first thing we have to talk about is the terminology, anti-Judaism and anti-Semitism. And they're not the same thing, and they don't refer to the same thing, and one usually gives rise to the other. But It's not the same thing. What's the difference? Okay, first of all, anti-Judaism is what we find in the New Testament, where you've got the New Testament authors competing with and fighting against the Jews, basically. In other words, that they have to make a case for their religion. They have to make a case for how their religion, depending on how you want to word it, supplants, replaces Judaism. They have to make a case where the Jews did not live up to their covenant as described in the Hebrew Scriptures, and therefore that covenant falls to the new Christian community. They have to rationalize, justify themselves. It's classic. It's standard operating procedure. This is nothing new or shocking. When the Protestants came around, they had to basically do the same thing to Catholicism. When the Muslims came around, they had to do the same thing to Christianity and to Judaism. They had to show why they're superior. And this is a religious competition. It's not an attack on the Jewish people as a people. It's an attack on the religion that they followed so that they would, in turn to the new religion, which was Christianity. Okay, anti-Semitism, on the other hand, is a word that was created in the late 1800s by a man who who was proud of being a hater of Jews. And there's a whole fallacy of the word Semitism or Semite or Semitic, but he took that for a number of reasons and created a word called anti-Semitism to refer to the then existing, this is late 1800s, already existing hatred for Jews because they're Jews. Doesn't matter what they believe, doesn't matter what they think, doesn't matter what they do, doesn't matter what religion they hold, doesn't matter what God they pray to, but just because they are Jews, they are to be hated. The word Semite or Semitic refers to a collection of languages that have a same root language that they all sprang from. So like a proto-Semitism, proto-Semitic language. And then from that language, you have Ugaritic, you've got Hebrew, you've got Aramaic, you've got other languages some people probably haven't even heard of. but it's a collection of languages common to the Jewish people. That word, Semitic languages, is derived, unfortunately, from the son of Noah named Shem, and hence the word Semitic. Wilhelm Marr in the late 1800s took that word and tried to make it look, therefore, that the Jews were a race. And as such, an inferior race, remember this is well before Hitler, may his name be blotted out, ever came on the scene. But Wilhelm Marr wanted a word that would refer to the then current hatred of Jews. Remember something, there's no such thing as a group of people who are Semitic. Right. The word Semitic refers to a group of languages, not a group of people with some sort of common background, but a common collection of languages that have a common source for that language. Okay. Like we say, the Romance languages are not from Rome, they're not Roman, they're Latin. They're derived from the language of Rome, which was Latin. Okay, I hope I'm being clear with all this.
Sure.
Okay. So there's an anti-Judaism that is clearly within the New Testament. They are going to put down Judaism at every chance they can because they are the religion they want to replace Judaism. And what happens is, and I wish, William, I wish I could have found the page taken from Gab, the website, which even newspaper, articles will say how it attracts people who hate Jews, and bigots of other kind too. But be that as it may, the point is that on Robert, I forgot his name already.
Bowers, I think.
Thank you. Yep. On Robert Bowers' Gab page, he makes the statement to justify his hatred of Jews, a reference to the New Testament, which is that the Jews are children of Satan. So, what I'd like you to do, so what?
No, I said, children of the devil, I think is how it was worded.
Yes, children of the devil. Well, remember in Christianity, devil and Satan are synonymous.
Right.
Okay, but take a look at the Gospel of John, chapter 8, and you can begin with verse 41.
Okay.
Okay. Or 38 maybe, which is probably what you were referring to earlier when we were talking.
Yeah. John 8.
Gospel of John, chapter 8, 37, 38, and following, somewhere around there. But it's 44 is where Jesus is supposed to have explicitly said,
"Oh yeah, right.
You are the children of Satan." And of course, if Jesus said it, it must be true.
The only issue and you can share your thoughts with me on this, is the only issue here is that he himself is a Jew. So when he's talking here to other Jews, saying,
"No, he's not talking about himself," because
that's my point. But why would he be talking about? I know it says it, but I'm just saying, why would he just be singling out only Jews? I mean, Christianity would say, well, they're talking about the people who are anti-Jesus, whether you're a Jew or whatever. But that's weird. I don't know.
But
just a thought.
That would include us today, because if we are not Christians, if we reject Christianity and its theology,
right,
then we become the people that Jesus calls the children of the devil.
Right.
Okay, but let's take a look at this. Okay. Like you start with 43, that's fine. Jesus is talking to the Jews.
Okay.
New Testament rarely talks about the Jews of Jerusalem or the Jews of Bethlehem or it's always just the Jews.
Right.
Remember, by this time, 80% of the world's Jewish community did not live in Israel. They lived in the dispersion. Okay. And they could have come back to Israel under Cyrus of Persia hundreds of years earlier, but they didn't. Jews made a life in Babylonia. They didn't want to go back to Israel because they'd already made a life and settled into their new homeland in Babylonia, all over the Babylonian world. So when it's talking about the Jews, okay, it's not really talking about it's talking about every Jew on planet Earth. That's how the way it's going to be read, even though the vast majority of Jews didn't live in Israel, couldn't have cared less what happened there, but probably made an annual donation to the temple as part of their connection to the land. Okay, you can stop right there.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Where are we going to stop? Okay.
Remember, you're catching this 20 seconds after
I know. Okay.
Okay.
Jesus in 38 says, I speak that which I have seen with my Father, and you do that which you have seen with your father. The Jews answered and said to him, Abraham is our father. Jesus said to them, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. But now you seek to kill me, a man that's told you the truth, which I have heard from God. This is not what Abraham did. You do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, we be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even God, which is, by the way, a quote from the prophets, Amos, I believe. Jesus, wait. Stop this. Wait a minute.
Too much technology floating around.
Yes. Okay. So Jesus said, this is 42, Jesus said to them, if God were your father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. So what does that mean? It means Jesus is saying that he came from God. By the way, so did you, so did me, so did everybody. But I didn't come of my own will. I was rather sent here by God. By the way, if I'm sent here by God, it means I'm not God. At any rate,
right.
Verse 43, why do you not understand my words, my speech, even because you cannot hear my words? You are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father will you do. Okay, he was a murderer and he was a murderer from the beginning and did not live in the truth because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own, for he's a liar and the father of it. And because I tell you the truth, you do not believe me. Which of you convinces me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do you not believe me? He that is of God hears God's words. You therefore hear them not, because you are not of God. So repeatedly in this pericope is what it's called,
okay,
of John chapter 8, verses like 37, 38 and following, Jesus is saying that the Jews are the children of the devil.
Where does it say the Jews? I've seen that too. I just can't remember where it's at. Where does it use the term?
It's clear.
Jews?
Look at verse 48 then.
Well, everybody knows that Jesus didn't come teaching to anybody but the Jews, so he had to have been speaking to the Jews to begin with.
Exactly.
So,
but if you want to go all the way back, let's see. Let's
there
see.
You go. Then Jesus said to those Jews which believed on him, if you continue in my word, then you are my disciples. And if you
right.
So,
and then, or look at verse 22. Then said the Jews, will he kill himself because he says, wherever I go, you cannot come. And he said to them, and it goes on from there.
Right.
So it's the Jews. In the verse you read, it says the Jews who actually believed in him he's arguing with. Okay, because he knew they could only believe in him only so far, and then they would start not believing in him because the theology around Jesus contradicts what the Bible says, as we've repeatedly said on our in our discussions.
Right.
Okay, so let's understand this. He's saying, I do what's God's work. You don't believe me. You can't believe me because you're of the devil. And if you're of the devil instead of God, you can't believe me. You can't believe me. Therefore, you're the devil. That's exactly what he's saying here.
Right.
Okay. How does this get translated into the real world or whatever. Okay. Do me a favor, real quick.
Sure.
Google Michelangelo's Moses or Michelangelo's sculpture Moses. Okay.
Okay. Looks like it's got horns. What the heck?
Yeah, exactly my point.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh! Let me see if I can add.
Yeah,
that
well,
screen in
people
here.
wonder, well, why did they come? Where does that come from?
Let me see
And
this.
they'll completely miss it. Okay.
Save the jazz. Give me 1 second. I'll save it this time. Oh, let's go to.
Right. Thank you. Well, you can't really see it in the.
I'll put it here.
Oh, there we go. Go down to. If you got what's his name, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to the Wikipedia article for Moses Michelangelo. It'll come up.
All right, 1 second. Keep talking. I'm trying to save a picture right now.
All right. Well, if you can go to Moses and Michelangelo, you'll see a close-up of the head of Moses with two horns coming out.
Yeah, I've got that picture, actually. That's the one I'm saving right now. I thought I saved it right here. Where the heck did it go? A moment.
Can you get up on the screen?
I got it. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do here in just a second. Hang on. Okay, let me stretch this thing and make it bigger so you can actually see it. Yeah, that's pretty horrid.
Yeah, but people don't understand something when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Okay, they think that
You see it yet?
yes, they think it's let's see.
Now, to be quite honest, they don't really look like horns.
No, they look like
distance,
stubby things sticking out of his head.
It looks like there was something tied around his head or something because they're not really positioned right to be horns. But still, it's kind of interesting. Depends on which angle you look at it from. So,
wait a minute.
So carrying on, your point was.
Okay, my point is, if you take a look, wait, come on, okay. Take a look at Exodus chapter 34.
Okay.
And go to like 29.
Okay. And it came to pass when Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of testimony in Moses' hands. When he came down from the mount, that Moses was not that the skin of his face shone while he talked with them. Okay.
Okay. So 34, what did I just say?
29. Oh, 34:29.
Yeah. Okay. If this is King James. Now, if you take a look at the Hebrew of 34:29, okay. See, I ushne luchot ha'idut biyad Moshe min hahar u'Moshe lo yada ki keren or panim. Okay. Karen.
What verse you said 29? Are they off
it's
one?
Verse 29, Exodus 34. Exodus 34:29.
Okay, the Hebrew.
And unfortunately, like King James is saying that he didn't know that the skin of his face shone while he talked with him. Okay. But the Hebrew says, okay, that there are beams of light coming from his face, from the skin of his face. Karen or.
Oh, there is. I see it now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ki Karen or Panav.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Karen, unfortunately, can be
I thought I had my
mistranslated
screen up.
as horns.
Hit the wrong daggum screen. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Okay, I thought that was up.
So the Karen,
Yeah, it does. It says shine, or it
Right.
says to grow horns. That's really
Right.
wild. Holy
all right,
cow.
but that's the problem. And people will say, oh,
No
because of this
way.
mistranslation of Karen as horns instead of as beams, okay, they thought that Moses and the Jews had horns on their face.
That's crazy. Wow.
First of all, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not true. Okay, that may have reaffirmed the Christian belief that the Jews had horns, but the mistranslation isn't what led to the belief. The passage from the New Testament in John 8 is what led to the belief. Look, if we're supposed to be the children of the devil, and the devil has horns, then we, like the devil, our father, are going to have horns.
Right.
I mean, it's that simple.
Right.
So that's where it comes from. So going back to Mr. Robert
Bowers.
Bowers, thank you.
Yeah.
Going back to Mr. Bowers, and I use the term Mr. loosely, he swallowed the Christian lie from the New Testament about the Jewish people that we are children of the devil. And people will say, I actually read this on another Facebook page comment. Someone said that, he was into the supernatural. He was into the supernatural because he said the Jews were of Satan, of the devil. Okay, no, that's not where it comes from. It doesn't come from the supernatural. It comes from the New Testament explicitly in Christianity. And there are plenty of times where the Jews get the blame, for being children of the devil and satanic and whatever. By no stretch of the imagination is this the only verse that is anti-Semitic and anti-Judaism.
Right.
Why do I say anti-Semitic, not just anti-Judaism? Because here it's no longer talking about the belief system of the Jewish people, which is called Judaism, which is the word for a religion. If it has ism on the end, by definition, it's a religion. Okay, atheism can be thought to have been a religion.
Sure.
Be that as it may, the point is that it's now talking about the Jews, no matter what their belief system is. When it talks about the children of the devil, this has to do more of a peoplehood status than a status they gain because of their beliefs. It's a status they gain because of their relatives supposedly being the devil. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
William? It's the statement may be embedded in a theological debate with the Jews. Okay, because the Jews Jesus knew weren't eventually going to follow him because the theology that was developing in Christianity, even as early as the Gospel of John, that Jesus was not only literally the Son of God, but also died for everybody's sins, that concept is unbiblical. So eventually he knew they were going to, if the story even happened, but that's another discussion, he knew that he was going to eventually lose the Jews as followers. So the verses in the New Testament can be seen as anti-Judaism, but they are easily manipulated or used or turned into something that is anti-Semitic.
Right.
Okay. This is where Mr. Bowers gets the concept of, and the statement he made on his, the page, not Facebook. What's the other one?
Gap or
Gab,
something like that.
G-A-B, Gab.
Right.
Okay, they since pulled down his, closed down his page, probably because they knew everybody in the world was going to look at it. But there are copies of it out there, and you will see that he makes a reference to the Jews are the children of the devil or children of Satan, and where that comes from is the New Testament. But there are other quotations that very directly lead to anti-Semitism. So, for example, if you wanted to go to the end of Matthew,
Okay.
Where'd you go? Matthew. Let's go to 27. Okay. Yeah, Matthew 27, beginning with 17 or 16. Okay, fine. Let's go to 15.
Okay. Are you waiting for it to show up on your screen?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I'm here. It's up there.
All right. Okay. It says, now at that feast, which feast? The feast of Passover, the governor, which would have been Pilate, was wont to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would. Wait a minute. Bloodthirsty Rome that would shut the door, lock the door, and kill every man, woman, and child in the room because one person may have spoken out against the Rome, because it's a non-Roman holiday, namely Passover, is going to give up a prisoner that they think is a rebel against the state of Rome. It's just patent nonsense. It never happened. This is a made-up story. Remember that the Gospels were written at a period of time when the Jews were in open rebellion against Rome, and Christianity wanted to disassociate itself with the Jewish people. So a lot of the New Testament, even as early as Matthew, okay, is about separating themselves and distinguishing themselves from the Jews. Okay, verse 16, and they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, whom will you that I release unto you? And they all yelled out, Barabbas. Oh, no, he said, you want Barabbas or you want Jesus, which is called Christ? Okay. And he knew that for envy they had delivered him. Okay. Let's see. For he knew that for envy they had delivered. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, have you nothing to do with that just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. So here's the wife of Pontius Pilate trying to tell Pontius Pilate
to leave him alone. Yeah.
Leave him alone. He's a great guy. I've had all these dreams, the mystical dreams that tell me he's a wonderful human being. Okay.
Right.
And supposedly there, Pilate is giving the chance to the Jews to get rid of Jesus so he can stop listening to his wife. Okay. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus. Why? In the days of Jesus, there were plenty of other people, the book of Acts even named two of them, who were thought of to have been the Messiah. And the Jews couldn't have cared less. And they wound up being murdered by Rome, just like Jesus was. Anyway, the point is the governor answered and said to them, well, which of the two will you that I release unto you? They said, Barabbas. Pilate said unto them, what shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ? They all said to him, let him be crucified. And the governor said, why? What evil has he done? But they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See you to it. Okay. Pontius Pilate had to be pulled back to Rome because in the 10 years that he reigned, he was becoming too bloodthirsty and killing too many people. And Rome brought him back from, most governors of Rome were governor like 2 or 3 years. He was governor 10 years historically. Don't believe me? Look it up. And when he finished his period of time of governing Judea, it was because he was too bloodthirsty. But oh no, even though this guy's been arrested because he's a rebel against Rome, he did nothing wrong. He's a great and wonderful person. I'm going to wash my hands of the whole thing. But look at the verse 25. This is a key line that's caused all sorts of anti-Semitism and hatred of the Jews throughout the ages. Matthew 27, verse 25. Then answered all the people, which people? The Jewish people. And the people said, his blood, the blood of Jesus, be on us and our children. Does that sound like anything any human being
No.
who's got any love or heart for their children would say?
Never.
Pontius Pilate says that it's the blood of a just person, and the people respond by saying his blood, this blood of this just person being murdered for no reason, the guilt for that is going to be on us and on our children. First of all, you know the verse, and if you want to bring it up real quick, go ahead, which we refer to rather often, which is Deuteronomy 24:16.
Okay.
Okay? What does it explicitly say? Deuteronomy 24:16.
Father shall not be put to death. That's right.
For the children.
Right.
Neither shall the children be put to death for the father. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Jews don't believe that our children inherit the guilt that comes from sins that we have done. Mm-hmm. You don't inherit the guilt of sins performed by an ancestor. So right. What would come into their mind that they would say, the guilt that comes from killing this just man, according to Pontius Pilate, will be on our heads and on the heads of our children? It is so ludicrous that any parent, much less the Jewish people, would say that the guilt for killing Jesus, for murdering Jesus, who was an innocent man, so being innocent, it's a murder, not just a killing, be on our heads of our children forever. And who would say something like that? Right. Especially not the Jews, who don't believe inheriting guilt for sins committed by ancestors. So this alone has led to people to say that it's the Jews' fault that Jesus was crucified. The Jews are the ones who are responsible for his crucifixion. The Jews killed Jesus. Therefore, we should be guilty forever, as our Jewish ancestors explicitly said. And the idea of deicide, okay, is a Christian attack on the Jewish people and has been for thousands of years, 2018, give or take a few decades. Okay. But let me show you something real quick.
Okay.
Okay. Go back to Matthew. Where'd you go? Hello, Matthew. I know you're here somewhere. Matthew. Go back to 27. Okay. Okay. And take a look at let me find it real quick. Okay. Take a look at it's still chapter 27, but look at verse 37.
Okay.
I think that was a sneeze. So Gesundheit, God bless you, and La Briute.
It was a cough. I moved the microphone out of the way. So, and he set up over his head this accusation written, "This is Jesus, King of the Jews."
But why did they call this an accusation? Rome is putting the accusation above the head of Jesus on the cross, like a little plaque.
Right.
And it's called the accusation. Why is this man being crucified? What does the accusation read? This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. Why is that an accusation?
Because he's a king. I've always thought it was because he was being, he was challenging the Roman authority by presenting himself as a king. Not that he was the king of the Jews, but just that he was a king.
In other words, if you think that anybody besides the emperor in Rome is your leader, is your king, is your emperor, this is what's going to happen to him, the guy you think is actually king instead of the Roman emperor.
Right. And
this is also what's going to happen to you if you think anybody but the emperor can be your king.
Right.
And exactly as you said, it's seen as rebellion against Rome to have a king other than the emperor and to be the king other than the emperor. So that's why it's the accusation. Rome itself is saying that the reason why he's crucified is because he's a pretender to the throne of the emperor.
A threat, even.
Yeah, and a rebel against the Roman rule.
Right.
None of that the Jews would care about.
Right.
Jews don't care who the king is of Rome. They just want to be freed from him.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, they don't want to be. They're not looking out for the laws of Rome. They look out for the laws of Judaism.
Right.
And that's another issue about Jesus breaking Jewish tradition, Jewish laws. But the point is that Rome itself said that this is why he was crucified, and the reason he's crucified has nothing to do with Judaism. It's not the Jews who wanted him dead. By the admission of the New Testament itself in Matthew 27:37, it's a Roman issue. And by the way, if you take a look at the text of what's it called, the Nicene Creed,
Yeah.
Jews aren't even mentioned there. Jesus was crucified under Pilate, I think is the reference, not to the Jews, not because of the Jews, but one of the earliest creeds of the Christian community is that it was Pontius Pilate who saw to his death. Crucified under Pontius Pilate, I think, is the terminology of the Nicene Creed.
Interesting.
N-I-C, where'd the C go? C, A-E, Nicene, see, pops right up. Okay. Nicene Creed, going, of course, to Wikipedia. Let's see. How come they don't have it, the text? Oh, thank you. Council of Nicaea 325. We believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of all things visible and invisible, and in one Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God, begotten of the Father, the only begotten, that is, of the essence of the Father, God of God, light of light, very God of very God, begotten, not made, being of one substance with the Father, by whom all things were made, both in heaven and earth, who for us men, for our salvation, came down and incarnate. Let's see. Okay, so maybe it was later. Here it is. First Council of Constantinople in the year 381, the Nicene Creed was changed to read, he was crucified for us under Pontius Pilate and suffered and was buried, and goes on from there. So they changed merely he suffered and the third day he rose again, ascended into heaven, which is the Council of Nicaea, hence the name Nicene Creed. It was changed under the Council of Constantinople in 381 to he was crucified for us under Pontius Pilate and suffered and was buried, and the third day he rose again, and goes on from there. Doesn't say under the Jews, it says under Pontius Pilate.
Right. Wow. Interesting.
Right. My point to all this, okay, is that New Testament quotations arise because of competition with Judaism and with the Jewish people. And if they say something against our belief system, like against Rabbinic Judaism, which, well, they would have said Pharisaic Judaism, okay, Jesus was always complaining and arguing with the Pharisees, so theologically they'd have been debating with the Pharisees, the precursor to Rabbinic Judaism. That's anti-Judaism. That's understandable. I don't agree with it, okay, but, I disagree with Christianity all the time. So do you, William.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you could say that, there's a kind of anti-Christianity bent about what we believe, right? But that has nothing to do with how we feel about Christians.
Sure.
It's when that disagreement with the theology of Judaism becomes hatred for the Jewish people simply because they are Jews, that the anti-Judaism and the verses that express it are used to create and foment anti-Semitism.
Right. That makes sense.
And that, in a nutshell, okay, and there's other verses that we could have touched on, that's what we're talking about.
Right. Okay, so next week, whenever sorry, I had to clear my throat again. Next week, maybe even a little bit tonight if you want to. Actually, no, next week, because tonight I'm going to have you finish the show off by talking about in Matthew 27, where in verse, because I love it when you explain this. I've already forgotten it once, so I'm going to have you explain it to me again. Verse 46, Matthew 27:46. But next week, I want to discuss the whole Jesus being a Nazarite.
Okay.
The whole thing, and just kind of really dissect that and kind of chip that away. So, being that he was or was he not? Did he take
All right,
the
but
Nazarite
before we
oath?
do anything else, I
Yes.
just noticed something on the chat
Okay.
on the YouTube, and it's a reference that Wally Cleaver made.
Okay. Hooked on a feeling.
Great song. Hooked on a feeling. I'm high on believing that you're in love with me. There's two versions. One was this real hard beat in the background, boom chaka, boom chaka. And I can't remember the group who did that, but the original was a much more gentler song. And I kind of like them both, but I'm hooked on it. Okay, I don't know why he was writing that, but I happen to see that.
That's funny. Okay,
Yes.
cool. Okay, so let's go to verse 46, Matthew 27:46. And about the ninth hour, Jesus cried out. Was it the ninth hour or the third hour? Hey, there's another contradiction. Okay, so about the ninth hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Now, your comments on this, please.
Okay. Supposedly, this is a reference to Psalm 22. Psalm 22. No idea why we're covering this now, but why
it's
not?
Because it was in the same chapter, and I scrolled down and saw it.
And you saw it. Okay.
Yeah.
Psalm 22. Okay.
Psalmi.
All right. So Psalm 22, verse 1. To the chief musicians upon Ayelet HaShachar, a psalm of David. My God, why have you forsaken me? Okay. First verse, Psalm 22, right?
Okay.
If you were to take a look at the Hebrew.
Okay, which we'll do right now.
Do what?
I said, which you'll do right now.
Right. Okay. The word there, Psalm 22, verse 2, is Eli, Eli, lama azavtani.
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay.
Not lama sabachthani, right? But azavtani.
No, not lama sabachthani. It says lama azavtani.
Interesting.
La'azov, forsake, flee, go away. Azavta, you forsake, fled, whatever. And then the ni is, you did it to me.
Right.
Okay? All right. By the way, that's pretty clever. What program are you using?
Oh, you were watching. Oh, I thought you had your own stuff going on. This is.
Well, I do, but I was just watching you on the.
This is. It's called. It's Olive Tree is the software, and
Olive Tree?
Olive Tree. You basically download the app for your desktop, and then you can get certain versions for free. But this one,
that's the way that.
Like a tree.
eSword.
Yeah, eSword. Yeah. Right. So in this.
Well, at any rate.
This particular case, like this, I think this the Hebrew add-on for this was like $35, but it was worth it. I've had it for a long time. So,
okay. Well, at any rate, so we know the Hebrew is azavtani, Eli, Eli, lama azavtani. Now, you had us look at which version? Matthew.
Yeah, it was King James.
Right.
Matthew 27.
But take a look at the same thing in Mark.
Okay, what verse is that?
I know you'd ask. How about this? How about
that'd be easy to find. Hold on. There it is right there. 1534. And in the night hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. This is the same thing.
But see, it's not the same thing, and that's the point. Eli, Eli is Hebrew.
Okay.
Eloi, Eloi is Aramaic.
Okay, gotcha.
So in the Mark version, which I hope you keep up there.
Okay, I will. Oh, I got to put it up on the screen for you. Sorry. There you go.
Okay. In Mark, it says, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani.
Okay.
Eloi indicates that it is Aramaic.
Ah, okay.
If it is Aramaic, then in fact it actually does mean exactly what Psalm 22 verse 1 reads, which is, my God, why have you forsaken me?
Okay.
Because the Aramaic word sabachthani means you have forsaken me.
Okay.
So that is a very direct translation into the Aramaic of what it says in Psalm 22. My God, why have you forsaken me? Eli, Eli, lama azabtani. However, Matthew does not have Eloi, Eloi,
This is
lama
Eli,
sabachthani.
yeah.
What Matthew has is Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani.
Okay.
This is Hebrew because otherwise it would be Eloi.
Right.
Eloi is how you say my God in Aramaic.
Ah.
But if this is supposed to be Hebrew, then why does Jesus here say sabachthani? Because sabachthani is not the actual Hebrew of Psalm 22, which is azabtani. And the answer is, if this is Hebrew, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, Jesus did not say, my God, why have you forsaken me? Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani in Hebrew means, my God, why have you entangled me? Why have you ensnared me?
Okay.
Like a trap grabs a hold of a animal's leg.
Right.
Why have you entrapped me?
Interesting.
Is that what a Messiah would say?
Right.
Okay, is that
Yeah.
it's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Lama sabachthani, if it's Hebrew, means just like Psalm 22 says, "Why have you forsaken me?"
Right.
But
Interesting.
if it begins with Eli, Eli, it's not Aramaic; it's Hebrew, and that means Jesus is saying, "Why have you ensnared me?"
Crazy.
Right. So somebody either didn't know Hebrew,
Yeah.
or somebody didn't know Aramaic, or somebody made this all up from the very beginning and none of it happened. Because why would Matthew disagree with Mark about the actual words that actually Jesus actually said? And by the way, that brings to another problem, and that is if Matthew and Mark disagree with each other, William, but they're both supposed to be inspired by the Holy Spirit.
There's two Holy Spirits.
That's two Holy Spirits.
You know,
Father,
the thing that always bothered me was, if you have only two stories, for example,
Yes.
and neither one of them agree, if it was a court system, they would reject both of them. They wouldn't pick one and say we'll go with this one, or they wouldn't pick the other one and say we'll go with that one.
Right.
If there was two testimonies that came forth against somebody, and that neither one of them matched up, they would just throw them both out. If there's a third one maybe and there's two matching, then because there goes your two witnesses. That works, right? So it's interesting to see how Christianity, and I was there, so I was so willing to accept. It didn't matter if there was something off or not, because it was all about faith. It's all trusting that you just, what I mean? It's like saying, I believe that, 10 years from now, Rabbi, if you'll just give me your house and all your belongings, 10 years from now, I'll give you $100 million for all of it, right? It's just anybody who would believe something like that would just be kind of like a little bit out there, I think. So It's interesting. What you reading?
Yep. I was looking through the chat again to see what people were asking about, or something to respond to, but.
Right.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, not really seeing a whole lot.
Yep, that's okay. So next week will be a good topic, and again we've got. You know what I never did do? Last week I told everybody. I think I told everybody. Maybe I didn't. Okay, no, that was actually on a different show. So all you viewers out there.
Wait. This is a response to Mimi. He says, "What about those who are descended from Shem? Who are they?" Well, they are the peoples, but they're not called Semites. The term Semite or Semitic was a reference only to language, not to a group of peoples. Okay, and we don't say Semite. The word isn't Sem. The son of Noah was Sem. The son of Noah was Shem.
Right.
Shem. Okay, so it's a different word.
Right.
Semitic is a reference to languages, except when used in the term anti-Semitic, which is explicitly and only about the Jews. People will say, oh, well, the Arab peoples are Semites. No, they're not. Arabic, the language, is a Semitic language, but the Arab people are not Semitic people.
Right. Wow.
Okay. And the word anti-Semitic, which this might be a better way to refer to it, a better way to say it. So forget what I just said. Anti-Semitic only refers to the Jews. Anti-Semitic doesn't refer to any hatred of any Semitic people, no matter who they are. It only refers to explicitly the hatred of Jews because they're Jews. So that's what I really should have said.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So So to clarify this for you guys, next week before next week I'm going to look in my email, and I'm going to see if anybody has sent in any questions or topics. If you have an idea for a good topic for next week, send it to Tanakh Talk.
No, Chris T. Jesus was not speaking to the Pharisees.
Tanakh
He
Talk.
explicitly says the Jews.
Tanakh Talk Questions at gmail.com. Tanakh Talk Questions at gmail.com. Send us your ideas for topics for shows. I did not turn the phone lines on. We kind of got long-winded. That's okay. We usually don't need topics, but this is actually a good time to go. So, all right, done. Come on. I see there's somebody already sent an email there.
Moses having horns is not a misunderstanding of Scripture. It comes directly from the New Testament, which we've discussed.
Okay. What are they? Okay. So, I guess that's pretty much it for now. So, man, I still cannot believe it took me 2.5 hours to get home from work today. It's an hour and 15-minute drive.
Took me my brother was in town.
I
took him to the airport, and it took me 45, maybe 55 minutes to get there, maybe. But it also took me 2 hours plus to come home.
Insane. I will tell you this, my favorite part of the whole drive was actually when I was sitting still, not going and stopping, going and stopping, going and stopping. It's like sitting still, I'm good with that. I can kick back and relax and just chill, give some Rabbi love here. You'll see this in a few minutes. Yeah, a little massaging your head there, buddy. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, cool. All right, well, guys, thanks for tuning in.
No, thank you.
Did you see it?
Yeah, no, I did.
That's awesome. Okay, so again, I'm gonna push all these out there. So I saw a few new viewers tonight. So if they go back and watch this, I don't know if they're still logged on or not. Judaism and Christianity Contrast. It's a really easy read. It's fantastic. Sorry, every time I hold something white up in front of my camera, it messes with my green screen. It's really easy to read. It's fun. Nice to write. You can get it on Kindle, but it's much funner to highlight and circle things. You can't do that on a Kindle. Well, at least I don't think you can. Not for easy access. And for those who have never heard of Rabbi Tovia Singer, he's got a 2-volume book set that's quite large, and the print's large.
As I said before, we really should just get a whole bunch of books and do nothing but talk about books. I think probably do that next week.
Just maybe make that one big commercial for all the people out there who've got these books. I need to get my book going.
But it's a lot of books. Books people who, may they rest in peace, don't live anymore. They're not alive anymore. For sure. So, at any rate.
Cool. Okay. Well, you guys have a fabulous evening, and we will look forward to seeing you guys on the other side. Shalom, shalom, and Rabbi, shalom to you, and we will see.
Shalom to you too. Please contribute to the building of the building.
Yes, please do. This stuff is not paid for. I repeat, it is not paid for. This is like buying a car. You have it for 5 years or whatever. It's a continuous debt, and one of these days it'll all be paid out, but for a while it's not. So if you guys can help me out, man, I really would appreciate that. It's choking me right now.
If you like these shows, not just mine, but everybody else's shows, if you like any shows, find any worth to it, say thank you and cough up some money.
You know what I find is a lot of people see things like this and they think that something that looks like this, it's all professional, whatever you want to call it, and they think, well, they must have tons of money. Well, that's definitely not the case. And I'll give you just an example. I still do actually. I like listening to lectures on Chabad.org, and they've been around for as long as I can ever remember. I would figure they'd probably have 50, 60.
Chabad was one of the first organizations in all the Jewish community worldwide to seize upon the idea of the internet and start
It was
out.
brilliant. It's brilliant. And I'm telling you,
It
I
is.
owe my life to them, my current life to them, because it was through that avenue where I began to really be able to reach out and grab these resources of teaching Torah. And so, but I was surprised. I mean, because in my mind, I'm thinking, man, they must have like 100,000 people who just over the years who just have just partnered up with them. And man, they're just rocking and rolling. That was my thought. And it's like I went on there like about a month ago, and it looked like they only had like maybe 3,000 people, and granted that's a lot, but for being around for 50 years, that's really not that many people who have partnered with them and who continuously send money in every month. They don't even look at it. They just $10 a month, and it's like they just got it set up for life that way. And man, that's really a really good setup, because those little $10 here and $5 there, that all adds up. And when you put all this stuff together,
If people donate.
Yeah, if they do it, and so if you really don't like the whole monthly thing, I mean, if you
By the
really
way, I want to clarify something just
Sure.
so they understand completely, William. I am reasonably sure that me, certainly, and nobody else that you interview for these shows gets paid a penny.
That's right. No one does. I don't get paid.
No one does.
You don't get paid. No one does. This is strictly
No, it
voluntarily.
actually costs you money to
Right.
put this on and build buildings where you can do it better.
Right.
So people dig into your
We just did.
pocketbooks.
We had
and
just
send William a
recently.
check.
Just recently had expenses come up, and like I said, people don't know this. Maybe I should send out emails. I don't know, but we just had a software update that I had to pay $100 for. Well, I didn't actually have $100 in there this time. I mean, the Tanakh Talk tap is gone. It's like, so I'm like sitting here trying to scrape pennies to put in that account, and it's like stuff keeps adding up, man. It's like a constant flow of bills that just keep coming in. I'm dedicated to it. I'm not going to let it ever like fall back, but it sure is nice to see the people who have reached out and who have sent in and have actually, because that really does help me so much. Helps my
William,
wife too,
I don't
wife
know
and
if
the
you
kids.
saw
You know what I mean?
Alicia Bassi's comment her on the chat. With all the digging you've had to do on your property, I wish you'd have dug up some gold.
I would love to just get a bulldozer and just dig a big hole in the backyard. If I can't find anything, I'll put a swimming pool in it. That would be great.
How can you, Michael Martin writes, how can you dig in Texas and not hit oil?
Man, around here you only hit granite. There's no oil where we're at.
Yeah, well, but underneath the granite, maybe you'll find some.
Yeah, there you go.
It's waiting to be discovered.
There you go. So anyway, cool, man. I really appreciate you guys. Really, really glad to see all you viewers out there. It's nice to see y'all communicating and talking. It's like we've got our own little, in the chat room, it's like seeing a little coffee shop sitting there and everybody's talking about what they're hearing. So that's cool. Y'all keep up the good work. And if you have any questions or have any topics you'd like to talk about, send them in to knocktalkquestions@gmail.com. And next week we'll have the phone lines open. You can call in, and even if you don't have a topic, you just want us to call in and say hi.
What was the email address?
To knocktalkquestions@gmail.com.
At Gmail.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, everything's pretty much at Gmail. So, cool. All right, man. Well, you guys have a great week, and Rabbi, you have a great week, and we will see you guys a little later. Shalom, shalom, everybody.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom. Now I just pushed the play button. Why didn't that work that time? Oh, it's on the Bible one. That's why. There we go. See you guys.
חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה והכמיהה. אני אתה אתם תמיד תמיד כולם ביחד, חשוב מכל חשוב